Picture this. You're walking through the dark, damp streets of a city that feels off. Shadows shift. Eyes seem to watch from every corner, and you can almost feel something crawling under your skin. Welcome to Slitterhead, a horror action game that isn't just about jump scares, it's a descent into madness crafted by the mind behind Silent Hill Keiichiro Toyama. But before you step into this world, let's take a closer look and see if it's worth the trip, or if you're better off staying in the light. Slitterhead is going to be unleashed on November 8th, 2024 for platforms like PS5, PC, and Xbox Series X, with a price of around $49.99 to $59.99. From the start, it's clear that this game is not here to play nice. It pulls you into a decaying, twisted city that's constantly teetering on the edge of reality. Some critics have praised the game's visuals, calling the atmosphere uniquely disturbing. You're not just seeing a creepy landscape, you're walking through a breathing, shifting nightmare where each alleyway and street feels alive and hostile. Now, let's talk about the monsters. The creatures of Slitterhead are like nothing else in horror gaming. Some called them wonderfully bizarre. And it's an understatement. These aren't just creatures lurking in the dark, they're twisted reflections of humanity itself, morphing from innocent civilians into abominations that force you to question what's real. Their designs are meant to make you uncomfortable, almost daring you to keep looking. And fighting these things? It's not your usual survival horror approach. The game pushes you to fight with everything from melee attacks to firearms. Reviews mention that while it feels heavy and gritty, the combat has an intensity that makes each encounter feel like life or death. The standout quality here is the atmosphere. Slitterhead thrives on making you feel unease, and every visual choice amplifies that. The city around you isn't just a setting, it's a character, a living nightmare actively trying to break you. There's no safety, no refuge. The graphics are impressively dark and gritty, pulling you deeper into a world that feels almost too real. The combat, while unusual for a horror game, is surprisingly satisfying. You're not just running away from danger, you're facing it head-on. The mix of melee and ranged combat is designed to keep you on edge, making every weapon choice and ability feel like it could be your last. It's a refreshing change if you're tired of horror games that simply rely on hide-and-seek mechanics. However, even with all its strengths, Slitterhead has some cracks in its haunted armor. One of the biggest issues? The story can be challenging. The plot is often fragmented, jumping between scenes without always making sense. For players hoping for a well-structured narrative to guide them through, it might feel more like a series of nightmarish vignettes than a cohesive story. And then there's the pacing. While the combat is exhilarating, there are moments where the game drags, losing its grip on the tension it builds so well. Certain segments feel more like filler, forcing you to wander through the darkness without much payoff. These slowdowns might leave you wanting more of the thrilling, tense moments that define the rest of the game. So, what's the final verdict on Slitterhead? It's not for the faint of heart. If you're drawn to games that push boundaries and revel in the uncanny, Slitterhead is a unique journey into horror that's worth exploring. But be warned, this isn't a game that hands you answers or an easy escape. It's a visceral, unsettling experience designed to test your nerves and challenge your idea of horror. If you're up for a game that blurs the line between reality and nightmare, then go ahead. Slitterhead will welcome you with open, twisted arms. But if you're hoping for a linear story or a conventional horror ride, you might want to tread carefully here. It's a game that asks you to surrender to the unknown and embrace the darkness, if you dare. But what do you think? Is Slitterhead the kind of horror game that'll stick with you, or is it just another eerie face in the crowd? Keiichiro Toyama's signature style is all over this game, and if you're curious to see more of his work, we've got something special for you. Check out our breakdown of Silent Hill 2 Remake, then versus now, to see how his terrifying vision has evolved from 2001 to 2024. It's a deep dive that'll give you a whole new appreciation for the twisted world of Slitterhead and beyond. The link's right there on the screen. See you on the other side.